Early in my years as a classroom teacher, I had a principal who said something that became one of my mantras. She said, "No student comes to school planning to mess up your day." Reminding myself of this wisdom always helped me work with various students who had, in fact, messed up a part of the day due to unexpected behaviors. I'm Jenny, your classroom coach, and this video will teach you how to create behavior charts that help students replace disruptive habits with positive work behaviors. It's possible because that kid who struggles is the same kid that wakes up each morning believing that they will have a great day. Behavior charts work because they break a behavior goal into manageable steps that students can achieve. They also motivate students since charts give students visual proof of their success. As attention to the student shifts to more positive and constructive interactions, behavior improves. In this video, you will learn how to set up a behavior chart. You'll also learn how to manage the chart without interrupting your time with the rest of your class. Let's get started. To create a behavior chart, begin by identifying a behavior you want your student to develop. Likely, you'll have a list of several behaviors you want the student to improve in, but take things one step at a time. Choose one behavior to focus on. For instance, a student distracted by lots on and around the desk probably also struggles with work completion. Start with keeping the desk organized. Even though work completion isn't the goal for now, keeping the desk organized will positively impact other behaviors the student needs support with. Once you pick your focus, write a goal statement that positively states the desired behavior. Keep the statement brief and simple. For instance, keep expected materials organized. Next, break down the goal. Think of the steps the student will need to achieve this behavior. For instance, to help a student learn to manage their materials, you want the student to first identify the supplies they'll need. You want them to begin getting materials out right away. You want them to put everything else away in their desk. And you want them to organize everything so they have a workspace to use. When a student struggles with expectations, we can't assume that they know what steps they can take to be successful. Make sure each step is a concrete action they can follow. You'll need to strike a balance between providing specific steps without making it overcomplicated. Use what you know about your student to break down the goal into explicit actions. Here's another example I recently used with a student. While the student knew to raise their hand, other steps here helped reduce the blurting. In particular, an agreement between myself and the student to be able to have a quick one-on-one to tell me whatever they needed was really helpful and met a need for some extra attention, which they learned to get in more appropriate ways. The next step, once you have your goal and steps in place, is to create a plan to give your student consistent feedback. Frequent feedback is essential to the success of this strategy. The feedback you give must be quantitative, in other words, points. This is how your student will clearly understand their progress. Like other elements of the behavior chart, keep things simple. A 3-point rating is easy to understand and use. The student receives a 1 if the expected behaviors did not happen. They receive a 2 if they needed some support, and they receive a 3 if they were able to show the expected behaviors independently. I also like this point structure because a 2 gives partial credit. In other words, they don't have to be perfect to be successful. You also need to identify when to provide these points. Some students may need frequent feedback, such as at the end of each class period, as in this example. In this example, students receive points after bigger blocks of time. With clearly defined goals and a simple point structure, these check-in times with students will be quick and manageable. Another option is to give the student responsibility to assign their points. I have found most of the time students are honest and usually harder on themselves than I am. I used this chart with a student to track their blurting. The student marked tallies when they blurted, and at the end of the lesson, they gave themselves a 1 or a 2 based on the number of tallies they made. This would allow my check ins with the student to be very quick and provide encouragement for work towards their goal. This student really had a tough time managing their actions all day long. It was amazing how well they could use this chart, and they really reduced their blurting. Charts really work. Here's one more example of how a student can take a role in filling in the chart, but also incorporate the teacher's feedback. This student reflected on whether choices they made supported school expectations of being respectful, responsible, and safe. They checked in before lunch as the class lined up, and then at the end of the day while the class packed up. When I first used this chart with the student, our ratings did not match. But with regular feedback, our points became consistent and the student's behavior was much improved. The last step in this process is to identify a point challenge. Determine the number of possible points the student can earn in a day. Set your student's first challenge to achieve 50% or lower of the total points. You probably think this is too easy, but hear me out. Ultimately, we want the student to show the desired behavior 80% of the time. Because we work with little humans who are still in development, we know that 100% is not realistic or kind. Kids need to be able to mess up without it ruining their entire day. The student can't get to the 80% goal yet, so you start low, much lower actually, to show the student that they can in fact be successful. If that means 40% of the points to start, then so be it. You won't hook them into a system that sets them up for failure right away, so take things slow. Gradually increase the point challenge, usually after a student has been successful at the current level for 1 week. Let your student know you are leveling them up. Our gaming generation completely understands this and are really motivated when they hear their challenge is increasing. Continue raising the goal as the student shows consistent success. If the student is unable to achieve the level, either lower the goal and gradually build up or adjust the goal to a new behavior that may be more appropriate at the time. Once your student can demonstrate the behavior goal 80% of the time for at least 2 weeks, you can consider changing the goal or ending the behavior chart. My students often did not want to end using their behavior chart. They knew how much it helped them, so I would have them continue it, usually giving them more responsibility for keeping track of the points. Students are rewarded for achieving their goal, even at the lowest percent. You don't need to make this fancy. Many students I worked with were simply satisfied with their score at the end of each day. I have used additional incentives with students. For example, if a family member is in partnership with you, they can provide the reward at home, such as a special game time or technology time. Selecting stickers to place on their behavior charts is also rewarding for some students. After totaling up the points, I would leave the student to look through my stickers and allow them to choose what they want. Another idea is for the student to have a special job, such as helping the PE teacher clean up equipment, read to a younger student, or check the teacher's mailbox. A student might also earn a special privilege, such as free drawing for 15 minutes each week. When I've used this type of reward, I've allowed the student to invite 1 or 2 friends to be included, which also increases the positive attention to the student. You care so much about every student in your class, and you're always working to meet each child's needs. You'll love using behavior charts with students who need individualized support for their social and emotional development. Getting started with the strategy takes some planning, so in the description below, you'll find a free Google Doc with several examples of behavior charts, along with a blank template that you can use. Mix and match the ideas to create a behavior chart that fits you and your students' needs. I'd love to hear how this strategy works for you. Comment below on your experiences with behavior charts. And be sure to check out our other videos for more ideas that support your positive classroom environment.